Hey everyone, happy Monday.
Hi,
Hey,
John.
John. Hi,
Howdy,
John.
howdy.
Hello, hello. We'll wait for some folks to trickle in here.
Hey, John. Hey, Scott.
Hey Jennifer.
Hi, Julia. Long time no see.
Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, Jen. Good to see you.
You too, Scott. You've been on my mind, actually, on my give a call list and say hi to.
Oh, good. I look forward to that.
Yeah.
John, did Zoom change it? All of my, um, you know, activities on Zoom are all kind of different now. It's taking me forever to, put in something in the chat to get me off mute or on mute. Weird.
Yeah, I noticed. I think they updated the design a little bit. It took me a minute to kind of reorient myself and navigate around. So I'm still learning as well. Supposedly, it's an improvement though. So we'll
Well,
see.
it's not. Every time I try to get out of something, it gets me out of Zoom.
Oh, is that right? Yeah.
Yeah. Jeez.
Hey Ian. Hey Cameron.
Hey, John, how are you?
Good. Yeah. Another month has gone by. I can't believe we're at the, unofficial last month of summer already.
Well, Kim's back in her classroom, first day of instruction today, and she's not the happiest camper in my world.
And I can't remember, is she doing a special education teaching? Is that right?
Yeah, she's been a special ed teacher for the last 23 years, currently in Ukiah at Pomalita Middle School.
That's
She's
right.
got her hands full.
Oh my gosh, I'll bet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Growing up in Oregon, we never started school until at least September. So I always feel like the mid-August start dates are too early.
Well, there's one more fun little anecdote to that, and is that it is her birthday tomorrow, and so every school year that starts is just before her birthday, which kind of sucks. So we just try to do something special beforehand.
John, I didn't know you grew up in Oregon. Where?
Yeah, I grew up in Bend, Oregon.
Oh, cool.
Central Oregon there, yeah.
I grew up in
Back
Portland.
when it was affordable, huh?
Yes.
Yeah,
Back when it was
exactly.
affordable, yeah.
It's not anymore. My sisters and brothers still live there, and yeah, they definitely are seeing the changes. And
So
Scott, you
John,
said you grew up in Portland? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Ian.
Yep. Grew up in Portland. Only came to the Bay Area to go to college and never went back.
I was just gonna ask how the kids are.
Good. Yeah. Our son now is 5 months old. The daughter is 3 years old, and we feel like we've aged 10 years. So I don't know how the math works out there, but
Somebody, I'm going to call you back before the end of the day.
You know what? Do you have our email?
and it sounds like Joe is on a telephone call.
Yeah.
Joe's
There, thank you. Yeah, no, time flies. We just went to Seattle August 1st for our youngest wedding.
Oh, wow. Oh my gosh. Congratulations.
Thank you. And we love his fiance or his wife, and we really like her family.
And you don't have any grandkids yet, Ian?
No, but when I do, I think I'm going to be taking off into the sunset. My eldest is 28. My youngest is 26. Aiden and Annie just got married. Cole and Courtney, yes, I have alliteration. Cole and Courtney are engaged. He's a firefighter for the city of San Rafael, and she's in nursing school. So they're going to tie the knot
Wow.
next year towards the end. And when we start getting those grandkids, I think I'm going to start a new chapter in my life.
Good for you. Oh,
Yeah.
that's absolutely something to look forward to.
Yeah.
All right,
So it is
well,
4:05. Are we there?
I think we're there. I think we'll accept the group as it stands, and we have a pretty good agenda today to get through. Obviously, the results of the survey, but before we get started, if you haven't already, please go ahead and add your name and property affiliation or any affiliation to the chat. Allows us to keep a record of who's in attendance, of course. And there's also the matter of the meeting being recorded, which is often requested after the meeting ends, and we'll have other property owners and operators review the recordings. They have found it helpful if they can't actually appear on a Monday at 4 in the summertime, which is understandable. We're still pretty busy around here. So let's go ahead and I'm going to do a screen share just so we can kind of keep track of where we're at on the agenda. And our first item today, we actually are fortunate enough to have a guest speaker. And we have, I believe, Magnolia Barrett here with the California State Parks. And Magnolia is going to talk to us a little bit about special events with the parks. And Magnolia, are you ready to jump in and just kind of give us a little bit of a rundown on what it is you can help with?
Yeah, happy to. Can you hear my audio okay?
Loud and clear.
All right, great. Well, thank you all for having me. John, thanks for the invite. My name is Magnolia Barrett. I also go by Maggie, so you can call me whichever. And I work for California State Parks. I wear many different hats, but the hat that I have on here with you today is as the special event coordinator. Alex, one of our rangers, had been in touch with John, and we realized that maybe this was a good opportunity to just let people know that a special events program even exists at parks. I know you all see lots of visitors coming through the area, and I have great appreciation for all of the interfacing you all do with the public and the tourists who are coming to our communities and spending their dollars. Really the main goal of the special events program is just to kind of keep a handle on the kind of added use to the parks on a regular basis. So large weddings, big company barbecues, that kind of thing. We just want to make sure that those kinds of events stay to particular areas and that we're aware of any like food trucks or generators or barbecues that people are bringing with them, and that we have a chance to kind of or help negotiate with people so that events that they're having are safe and respectful to the local ecologies and cultural resources and things like that. I like to make sure that people know that I actually don't have decision-making power on these permits. I just kind of help wrangle all of the details and then bring them to my supervisors. So if you ever have questions, you can reach out to me. The permit process is relatively straightforward. There's a $35 filing fee and a permit application. I give that to people upon request. And then once I receive those items, then we kind of negotiate with people about the details of the event. And once my supervisors sign off on it, we do request that every permit holder gets their own certificate of insurance. And then there's some kind of event fee that is determined based on the number of people that are going to be at the event. So I will send John a list of the pre-approved kind of standard event locations within the state parks in the Mendocino area, along with the number of people that's the maximum that the space can accommodate. And then I'll add my phone number and email in the chat, so anyone is welcome to reach out to me at any point if you have questions. I'm also happy to field a few now if there's time for that. But yeah, that's the end of my little spiel, and thanks so much for having me on.
Oh, fantastic, Magnolia. Yeah, we'll absolutely open the floor to any questions if we see anyone unmute or raise a hand. But really appreciate your giving us a rundown. And I imagine you probably see a good number of applications come through during the summer season, or is it pretty mild, or what do you think?
Yeah, I would say, especially kind of June, July, August, there's a number of different events happening, and then the weddings kind of continue into September and October. Cypress Grove over there on the Mendocino Headlands is an incredibly popular spot for weddings. So that is booked a lot of the time, but most of the other event sites are not booked throughout the summer. I'd say I would love to see the program grow ultimately. I think that kind of creative ways for both locals and visitors to get more time in the parks is good for everybody. But there hasn't been a dedicated person who has the bandwidth to build the program yet within state parks. So I'm hoping that that's available to me in the future. But yeah.
Wow, that's exciting. Do you have information on where the areas are that could be applicable for some events, so that, you know, if someone was looking at a map, they could say, oh, here's one and all that?
Yeah, I wish we had a nice map or beautiful images so that it actually looked appealing, but I just have PDF documents at this point with text. But I will send both. We have a list of like the guidelines and parameters, and then also a list of the locations, so that you can maybe share that with people too.
Oh, perfect. No, that's great. And like you said, maybe if the program becomes more robust, there could be an opportunity to develop some collateral and maybe some design work and all that. So that's exciting.
Oh yeah, I have lots of dreams, and we'll see. Everything at the state moves very slow. I am learning.
Yes, indeed. Well, great. I don't see any other questions in the chat or any hands raised right now. So thank you for putting your contact information in there, and it's also posted on the agenda. And I'll look forward to the information via email that I'll distribute to the group. And if someone does have questions after the fact, are you okay if they reach out to you?
Absolutely.
Perfect. Okay, Magnolia. Well, thank you again for being here. And like I said, you're welcome to stay and hang around, or you're welcome to jump off. We're going to move on to the next item on the agenda.
All right, sounds good. Thanks all. Bye.
All right. So the next item we have is the lodging survey results. And this was the 2024 summer lodging survey. So we had a total of 45 respondents on the survey. And as I'm sharing my screen now, I can't see if anyone is going to be raising their hand. So just feel free to unmute and start talking if you have questions. But we'll go through the questions one by one. And the first question was, how did June turn out for business? And out of the 45 respondents, you can see that the majority of respondents felt business was about the same as last year. But it's interesting that it's a little more heavily weighted toward the positive. A little bit better than last year was the second most ticked response on the survey. And so there's a little scale here that shows the business performance balance for June. And while 41% of the responses were neutral, meaning about the same, there were certainly more who felt that it was better than those who felt that it was worse. So that's interesting. Moving along to July, very similar trend. The majority of respondents here, though, felt that July this year was a little bit better than last year. There were quite a few who also felt it was much better. And so looking at the balance, the majority of combined a little bit better or much better was quite a bit more than even the neutral or the worse reporting respondents. So July as a whole, as an aggregate, seemed to perform pretty well this year versus last year. Temperature check for August. Again, the survey was released last week, so it was mid-month. It's just a sort of a forecast approximation of how we feel August will shape up. And looking at the total responses out of 45, we have the majority again feeling that this August is a little bit better than last August. Many of us feel that it's neutral, and some of us feel that it's worse. but still that scale is tipped in the positive direction. So as a whole, at least that's promising. We had the ADR question, was where is your ADR this year versus last year? And this one was pretty overwhelmingly reported that it's about the same or higher, which is exciting. Only 17 or close to 18% of the respondents said that their ADR was lower than last summer. And finally, occupancy, whereas ADR and occupancy have an inverse relationship, we can see it's not surprising that the prices go up. Sometimes occupancy does go down, and majority of folks experienced about the same occupancy, but more so lower than higher. So some overall results. Try and move this up. Some key takeaways. It looks like for the summer, there's a consistent trend of business reporting better performance throughout the summer, with July seeing the most significant improvement. And despite some occupancy challenges, businesses were able to maintain or increase their ADR. So this suggests strong demand and potentially effective revenue management strategies for the properties that reported. The slight decline in occupancy compared to the positive ADR trend indicates that there's an increased competition or increased supply in the market, a potential shift in traveler behavior, or possible economic factors affecting travel volume. So there's some mixed signals, but overall, there's some stability across all metrics. Portion of respondents reported conditions about the same as last year, indicating a degree of market stability despite some of the changes. So those are the takeaways from the survey, and I'll make sure to send a copy of the final survey results to everybody so you can have that in the email. But just based off of that quick review, certainly opening the floor to questions, comments, general thoughts on what you see. And I'll be
Hey,
quiet.
Jen,
for a couple minutes.
I was just going to thank you for the little graphic of the scale. That was made it really easy to see straight through everything.
Oh, cool. Yeah, you're welcome. I thought that was fun. I found a program that let it do that visualization. So I said, well, let's throw it on there. So you're welcome. Cool. And no other comments at the moment. Wonderful. Well, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the VMC area update and a Mendocino County brand research survey.
Yeah, I was hoping, John, that probably typically by now I would have had the April, May, June bid collection numbers to at least be able to compare that to previous quarters and the previous year. Most likely or not, I probably won't have that until early September, just because of where the counties currently is with their finances and them trying to close their books for the fiscal year. So hopefully by next month, I will at least have an update on what that previous quarter looked like compared to previous years.
Oh yeah, that'd be great, Ramon. Thanks.
Yeah, and then Visit Mendocino County did a brand research survey earlier this year that was just completed. It was both online and in person, but ultimately we targeted 4 markets: the Bay Area, Sacramento, Los Angeles, and Southern Oregon. And there's a link on the agenda. But John did a really great job at summarizing those key takeaways. Obviously, brand awareness in LA is really low, largely because VMC has, for the most part, always focused on Northern California. The outdoors and nature, it's a saturated market in California because the whole state is beautiful. So there's a lot of competition in that aspect, with nature, wildlife, outdoor adventure, and so forth, competing with places like Yosemite and Lake Tahoe. But where's the line I was going to look at? Oh, interestingly enough, cannabis, wine, and coastal travel were really high on those surveys.
You want another plate?
And what was that, Joe?
Nothing, I'm sorry, I must.
Oh, no worries. But yeah, it's a really interesting survey. There's a lot of data to to look over. Visually, it's a lot of information, but it does give us as VMC a lot of useful information. For example, typically, rather than assuming that whatever campaign we're running for Sacramento will work in the Bay Area, based on these survey results, it goes to show that even those two campaigns for two drive markets similar distance away from us, they need to be created specifically for the market they will be we're trying to target, versus creating an ad set or a campaign and launching it in both of those areas. Yeah, a lot of interesting information. At your guys' leisure, I highly recommend you guys take a look at it, but it is on our Mendocino tourism website. And if there's no questions on that, I'll move on to the next just big talking point for us.
I have a question, Ramon.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, like you said, I really enjoyed reading the report, and I thought it was very interesting to see some of the results. And as you mentioned, will the results of this survey begin to inform the strategy of VMC for those markets? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, so that's really the goal was originally when we were pre-pandemic, when we were working with Theory SF, VMC wanted to conduct a brand study, and Theory ultimately just said there is no brand awareness, right, whatsoever at that point, which was what, 2019. So we wanted, now that we had rebranded and had launched the website last summer and began our marketing campaign and strategies for the first half of that year, we wanted to create a baseline for us to, down the line, as we conduct hopefully more research and surveys to collect data similar to this, we have something to look back on and compare. Are we improving in specific markets? Are we not? Is perception of certain or sentiment of certain industries changing specifically in our county, and what does that look like? But for us at VMC, we're going to take some of the data from this and incorporate it into our marketing. And so that Sacramento Bay Area example that I gave is just kind of one example of what we'll have to do internally to get the most ROI.
Yeah,
And
totally makes sense. Yeah, that's exciting. And as you mentioned, the Sacramento area, as we know, is such a popular feeder market for all of the county. And from the average sentiment responses in Sacramento show that the outdoor aspect is the largest draw, coastal is second largest, and then pretty much neck and neck, but with a slight edge, is cannabis.
yeah.
Well, I mean, how heavily do you feel like VMC will lean into almost equitably communicating a marketing strategy between these two demand drivers with wine and cannabis? I mean, are you going to use that data pretty straightforward, or is it going to be, what do you think?
With cannabis, it's it's different. Normally, it'd be straightforward with any of the other options, right? Whether it's outdoor, coastal, wine, luxury, value.
Right.
With cannabis, you're not able to utilize a lot of the typical online platforms and outlets that we normally use for marketing. So for cannabis, it's you either have to work with cannabis-centric outlets, with print material, billboards, that type of stuff. And we've been working over the last couple of years to try to build that tourism cannabis aspect of the county. But there are some businesses that are definitely there, and they've been benefiting from just the marketing and the cannabis aspect at the county level. But there's still a lot of work to be done in that industry. So, I mean, we're working with the Mendocino Cannabis Alliance in as to what that looks like from a tourism consumer standpoint, not necessarily advocacy and the business themselves from business to business.
Yes, okay. No, thank you for touching on that. And I see Scott has his hand raised. If you want to field a question there.
Yeah, Scott, go ahead.
Can you hear me all right? I'm outside.
Yes, I can hear you.
So we continue to serve cannabis cocktails at our happy hours on weekends. We used to have 2 flavors, and now they've become so popular, we've got a 3rd flavor, which seems to be catching on because it appears to be the one that I have to keep replacing the most. And you're all invited. You got to remember this. Anytime Friday, Saturdays, 5 p.m., come on over for cannabis cocktails. Although now we're serving hemp cocktails because we got awarded, that green certification for California, which means California state workers can only stay in green approved lodging, of which we're the only one in Mendocino County. And even though cannabis is legal in California, a state worker, even a California state worker, is still considered a government worker. And so in order to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to imbibe, we've switched to hemp cocktails, which strangely, have exactly the same effects. They even have THC in them. So I'm not quite sure why they're considered legal, but they are. So here you go.
Yeah. No, it sounds like that has been working for you quite well because you've been doing it for quite a while now at this point. So that's good to hear. And then the last thing, I guess, from a VMC perspective, which we're very diligently working on, is the business improvement district. I think the majority of you guys on this call have either already signed the petition or we're having conversations already in regards to it. But that's really the big thing we're currently working on. We're working towards switching the business improvement district from a 1% assessment to a 2% assessment, switching from an annual contract with the county to a contract that would allow us to have a 5-year contract with annual reporting, which we already do to the Board of Supervisors. And then there's an option on there that could be implemented on year 3 for an additional 0.5%. With some guardrails, meaning it's recommended by the executive director of Visit Mendocino County, approved by their board of directors. The Business Improvement District Committee, which is all composed of lodging, has to approve it. And then at that point, it would go to the Board of Supervisors for public hearing. So we created that with some guardrails to where it's something that we can still move forward with if at that time it's something that the industry feels and that is something that we need, or if we're just not in a place where that makes sense through lodging, it would just not be implemented, and we'd continue at that time with just 2% for the foreseeable future. But it just made sense for us paying so much money and waited 2 years to get to the point where we're at with the county, that it was something, it made sense to include it, even if we don't do it, then not include it. And then down the line, it's something that the industry wants, then it'd be a lot of more heavy lifting and a very tedious process, which we're aware of now down the road. So that's kind of where we're at. There will be email communication going out later this week to all lodging emails that were provided by the county. And then also beginning of September, we will be mailing out those petition forms to all the lodging. That way, not only are we're scheduling meetings like one-on-one and meeting with hoteliers literally throughout the next few weeks, but there will be both email and print communication, because it would really be impossible for us to meet one-on-one with every single lodging operator at the county level. So that's my update. It looks like, I believe Scott has a question.
Yeah, two questions, but back to cannabis for a second.
Uh-huh.
Is Brett still on the board?
Yes, and he actually just earlier this year, a few months ago, joined the Mendocino Cannabis Alliance board as well. So they're
Okay.
they have a new executive director, and they're working more on consumer facing projects, which is good.
Yeah. What I wondered if you could pass on to him, because I don't have his contact info. Nobody in the county appears to be making hemp cocktails at all, and so I actually buy them in San Francisco, which nicely is only about a block away from where I live. So I just stock up whenever I'm here and bring it with me and save shipping costs. But even though I'm the only one that has state workers coming, we've always had government workers from various places. In fact, one of my neighbors works for NASA, and so there's always going to be a need to offer hemp cocktails to those guests. And it'd be nice if it were a Mendocino product rather than a San Francisco product.
Yeah, I will actually after this, Scott, I will email you and I'll share Brett's contact information, because I believe
Okay.
even at their facility in Ukiah, they retrofitted all the brewing equipment because the facility used to be a brewery. They retrofitted it to be able to make drinks, cannabis
Oh yeah,
drinks. So,
I know that they do. In fact, I started out by buying those. And so unfortunately, he lost my business when I had to switch to hemp.
okay, yep, I'll put you in contact with Brett.
Okay. And then the second question, how were the results, both in terms of how many responses you received, as well as what you reported to the board of or the board of supervisors? And I can't remember what the topic was, but it was a docu-sign that you had us all sign and send back.
So that DocuSign that you signed, Scott, that's what I'm referring to, which we're still in that petition drive. We're kind of like halfway there timing wise. So the VMC team and I have meetings scheduled for the foreseeable future. Just a few every day, meeting with either general managers or owners of lodging properties. There's been a few that just have questions about different things or how it works. A good amount already is so involved with VMC that we didn't even require a conversation. They just signed off on it when we sent it to them. So far it's been really good. But we do know that there will be properties that'll be just a harder, I wouldn't say a sell, but it'd just be harder to convince them to get on board for whatever personal reasons it is. But we're still working on it. So hopefully at the next month's meeting, I have really great news to share.
Good. Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thanks.
And I think those are my updates, Sean.
Awesome. Okay, Ramon, thank you very much. Do any of your other wonderful team members have anything else to add for BMC today?
Doesn't sound like it. They're not unmuting.
I do not have any report on.
Thanks, Lisa. All right, great. And I see Jennifer is here as well. And wonderful. Okay, well, let's go ahead and move on to the rest of the agenda. We have about 25 minutes left, and we'll just roll right along here. Okay. Next item is the just a couple of miscellaneous things. New projections show California will get 1.2 billion in economic impacts through a 2026 World Cup. So those of you who have been following may already know that FIFA is going to hold the 2026 World Cup in North America. And so California is expected to gain 1.2 billion from hosting 13 matches during the 2026 FIFA World Cup. SoFi Stadium in Inglewood and Levi Stadium in Santa Clara are two of the venues. So there could be an opportunity to piggyback on some of the marketing around that time to bring folks from Santa Clara up to our area, potentially. Just wanted to keep it on your radar, Ramon. And
Thank you.
you got it. Next up, for those who have been experiencing some of the late summer heat, there is a new indoor heat illness prevention standard that's now in effect. Cal OSHA, this one's important. And so there's a link that goes over the documentation, but Cal OSHA's new indoor heat illness regulation, which took effect earlier than anticipated on July 23rd, mandates compliance for indoor work areas reaching 82 degrees Fahrenheit or higher. Employers must implement a comprehensive heat illness prevention plan. There's so many acronyms that is specifically tailored to your workplace. To comply with the new regulation, employers must provide access to cool drinking water, cool down areas, emergency procedures, and acclimatization methods. Additional measures are required when temperatures reach 87 degrees Fahrenheit or if employees wear heat restrictive clothing. And there's the link for more resources, including a sample plan to ensure your workplace meets these new standards. I don't know whether any of the hotels on the coast regularly reach that temperature, but I'm sure there are some, especially in the Sun Belt. And so we'll have to keep an eye on that. If you, Ian, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I'm right downtown Mendocino, and we rarely get that hot, but I was talking to a couple folks next door to me at the Mendocino Cafe, thinking about their kitchen.
Yeah.
And I think restaurant kitchens are gonna have some problems with this.
Yeah, I think
So-
you're absolutely right.
I would say that's where, I mean, there's, in terms of our industry with lodging and hospitality, the restaurants are going to be having a tough one. And I won't even get into all the field workers in California with the, picking up produce and everything, but just
Right.
in the hospitality industry, I think that's going to be a bugger.
No, that's a really good point. Scott with his hand raised. Go ahead, Scott.
Oh, sorry, it's off topic, but it's specific to Ian. Have you tried out Narbar next door to you?
A little off topic, yes, I have. It's a lot of fun, great people inside, great attitude, a hell of a lot better than what we had there before.
Oh yeah. Anyway, they've actually got a special menu item on their computer called Scott's Special Sashimi. And it's a little pricey. Nothing goes above 15 bucks there. And mine is 30 bucks, but it's definitely enough for two or enough for leftovers for 2 meals. And so feel free to order Scott's Special Sashimi whenever you're there. Not just Ian, but anybody who's there. It's a great place.
Good plug for the restaurant and for your special menu item. Thanks, Scott. All right, and only a few items left to go over. It looks like we might actually be able to escape a little bit early to enjoy the rest of our Monday. California hotel development struggles in current lending environment. And how about this? Maybe since we have 20 minutes left and there are just a short list of folks here today, I'll let you decide if you want to continue on discussion with these items or if you want to bring anything else up. And if not, then we can say our fond farewells. But I do see Scott with his hand raised. Go ahead, Scott.
Kind of off topic, but kind of related to this one. So we just got our insurance canceled. Remember when they were canceling everybody for drought and wildfires and for some reason, my insurance remained, and it happened to be the same insurance company that John Glide.
Oh, Scott, I think you dropped off. Are you still there? Or you went back on mute? Can you hear us?
Can you hear me now?
Oh, there you go. Yeah, we got you.
Okay. I can't remember. What was John's last name who had Glendevin?
Dixon. John Dixon.
Oh, that's right. So anyway, he had to sell, and a lot of people had to sell, and so this is the first time I've been confronted with it, and I couldn't get insurance from anyone. You have to have 3 denials before you can go to the California Safe Fair Plan, which raised John Dixon's insurance from $20,000 a year to over $120,000 a year, which is no way that I could afford that. But in any event, it's taken them so long to get back to me. Sorry about the sirens. That finally my mortgage broker said, we can't wait any longer, and so they forced me to go into with their insurance carrier, which actually works out great. So my original insurance with both liability and property was about $12,000 a year. I was able with the previous company to keep liability at about $6,000 a year, and then this forced insurance by my mortgage broker is only $6,000 a year as well. So I kept my exact same insurance costs. With additionally, I just pay monthly and have it added to my mortgage, rather than having to pay it all out in one lump sum. So if anybody's having trouble with that, that would be something for you all to consider.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, sounds like actually a happy outcome where we've been hearing so many unhappy outcomes. So thanks for sharing that story, Scott. I'm sure
I'm having trouble hearing you now, and I don't even have any sirens going by. So speak up. Thanks. But I did finally hear that. Thanks.
Sounds good. All right, we'll turn it back over to the floor. And I think we haven't had a meeting end early for months and months and months. So if today's the day, so be it. Unless we hear other notes for discussion, I'll stay quiet here for a moment. Well, we're going to call it in August then, and I'll look forward to seeing you all in September. Hopefully, we'll have some county figures. Maybe Ramon will be able to grab a hold of, and even some updates on the bid process. But wish you the best rest of your summer, and thanks for being here today.
Thanks, John, for hosting, and thank everyone for showing up. You guys are
Thanks, John.
awesome.
Thanks, John. Good to see
Thank
everybody.
you, everyone. Thank you
Bye.
for putting together that survey. Super informative.
Oh, you betcha. Yeah, thank you. And we'll talk to you real soon, I'm sure.
All right. You guys have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.